Hey guys, it's Corey again over at Cyber Strategies AI. Today we're going to take a look at a uh, follow-up sequence for classes, and I'm specifically doing, um, per instance versions of a class calendar. So what it means is I can schedule a specific date for the class. I created a calendar and I can put a specific date in for the class and then just create those dates. And once I create those dates, the then someone can sign up for a specific instance of that class. So then I want to shoot off a reminder to them just a day before the class so that they remember to show up, and then 1 hour before so that they just get a prompting that, hey, yeah, that class is coming up in an hour. So we shoot off a couple of emails. The first thing that we do is when someone signs up for a class, they get put in the sequence. We send a notice to ourselves. We do an enrollment confirmation email to the client. So that's the initial thing. Then everybody sits right here till 24 hours before the appointment. Then they get a reminder email. Then 1 hour, they get a reminder email and an SMS, and that's the end of it. So there are a couple of things that I really wanted to point out here. Number one was I've got multiple classes coming into this thing. So instead of building a separate sequence or branches or all kinds of other things, I've got one trigger, and I make sure that I've got multiple triggers coming in, one per class. But this thing goes through, and I use the calendar name for the class ID, the class name, class sign up, contact name, appointment. So this goes to our internal staff, and they get a notice that, hey, somebody signed up for the class, and it tells them which class it is, when it is, and who the contact name and phone number is. That way they can contact them on the day of the class if they want to. They also send an enrollment confirmation email to the person, to the client, student, and then 24 hours, etc. So all of these things, the key pieces here are that we're using variables in every one of these locations so that we are not, these are just the triggers. So we're using a variable right here saying, this, we're passing these things in so that we know, so that we don't have to maintain separate pathways and separate things for these reminders. We have one reminder set that goes out, and it's got contact name, calendar name, location address. So we're sending them the location of where the class is also and what it's called. So all of these things make it so that we can consolidate all of the classes down one path. So as we get, if we add different classes to this list, we just keep adding classes out here, and they'll all go through this exact same sequence because we haven't made anything specific to the class except the variables. The variable names allow us to make that very specific. We could even change and put this on a different account if we wanted to, because we're using location name, we're using location email, we're using the calendar name that's passed in. So we're using all these different things that are passed in. Of course, this would have to change because it's some very specific verbiage down here with respect to the type of class or the address or whatever, but you've got very minimal things to change. It makes it very, very nice to go back through and change these things. It also, if you were to duplicate this thing and make a trigger for TAC Fuse, or I'm sorry, a trigger for Basics 1, a trigger for Basics 2, etc., that you would be duplicating your code all the way out. It's not that bad at the time that you create it, but when you go to maintain this and get it all right, then it becomes very, very difficult. So this is just a technique on maintaining code, making code that's modular and maintainable, and passing variables in instead of specific hard-coded pieces of information. So that was kind of the key. One of the things that I did think about here was having Air. We could have Air like an hour before make a phone call, or 24 hours before actually kick off a phone call right here and call the person and talk to them. So that would be a nice touch. That was one enhancement that I had. Another enhancement that I'm working on is how do I notify the instructor of the class without signing them up for the class. So if I sign them up, one easy way to do it is to sign them up for the class. They'll get all these notices. But if I were to put a notice to the instructor right here for the 24-hour email, and they had 10 people in class, they would get 10 notices 24 hours before, and they would get 10 notices 1 hour before, 10 emails, 10 SMS. So working on a couple of ideas there. We kind of need a one shot for it that says, okay, only send one per day to the instructor of the particular class. But I need to make sure that it's that we can expand this functionality so it's extensible in the sense that we have various triggers. We can just keep adding triggers. So we want to make the code extensible. So we need to maintain its capability to do those kinds of things by sticking variables in the specific instance, maybe, or I don't even know yet how I'm going to do that, but I was just thinking about that particular one. Anyway, that is the key thought here on this, is how to make your code modular and useful for multiple applications.